LaSane. So basically, there's a couple things that I think I need to make sure that the media understands. Number one, just because Nick is a student athlete at Montana State doesn't mean that he's forfeiting his rights. And just because he's a player here doesn't mean that I'm going to have the ability to talk about certain things. And I know that you appreciate and understand that. And so I want to make sure that that's clear from the get-go. But I will say this, okay? Nick has violated team and athletic department policies. He was suspended for a period of time. He's gone through the protocol with both our Dean of Students as well as with Leon and our athletic department. And he's been penalized through the athletic department partially, but he will serve a very serious suspension for us on the football side. He's going to sit for 4 games. He's going to forego a portion of his scholarship for his remaining portion of his eligibility, and he's got some other internal things that we're going to do. And so that's kind of where we're at with Nick. Our goal here obviously is to handle things in an upfront fashion and address issues as quickly and as sternly as we feel like is necessary. And it's a tough balancing act when you're looking at a young man that has 8 semester credits left to get his degree. And that's our number one goal here, is to make sure that he gets to the finish line. And if football can help him do that, and this can be a lesson that we can utilize to improve his life, we're certainly going to take advantage of that.
Can you speak to how frustrating it is to have to talk about something like this on day one?
Yeah, obviously one of the things that we're trying to do is eliminate distractions. Yeah. And to be quite frank with you, that's why we wanted to address it right away. Yeah. There was some thought about, having him come in when school starts and some of those things, but I felt like that would even become a bigger distraction. While we're already playing games, here, let's deal with it, let's talk about it, let's get it out of the way, and let's move forward.
Can you just talk about where that leaves the position group as we stand today?
Yeah, well, I think there's, obviously you take out a guy who's had some production for us, and especially late in the year kind of came forward. But I think there's a lot of options in that room. And I think there's a lot of guys that I'm excited. It's like I was saying out here tomorrow, we need to make sure we script some things so we can get Troy the ball in his hands a little bit more, to get Tyrell Burgess the ball in his hands a little bit more. But I think Jake Rober's a guy that can be a down in and down out back. I think that you look at a guy like Edward Vander, who's a very similar skill set to Nick. And so there's going to be some guys that are going to have some good competition. Logan Jones stuck around all summer, did the right things, is back kind of where he was maybe 2 years ago, and we're excited about seeing him move forward. And then you kind of got a guy like Noah, who's a jack of all trades and a really good leader in that room.
Has Troy been working with running backs since he got to campus, or is this a recent transition?
This is kind of a recent transition. Obviously we intended him to play on the defensive side, but you got a dynamic athlete like that, I think you got to take advantage of the things that he does well, and we feel like that's one of the things that he can do to help our team.
In regards to LaSane, obviously the second incident, wrong place, wrong time. Do you hope to use that as a teaching moment, or can you use this as kind of an example for the other guys?
Yeah, I think you always do that. Yeah. First and foremost, we don't ever bury our head in the sand around here. I'm always very upfront with the rest of our team when there's an incident that occurs, whether it's us or whether it's somebody at the University of Oklahoma or the University of Michigan. We always have the opportunities to help these young men understand that they are in a different day. Things are different for them. They chose to be student athletes here. That puts them in the limelight. They're in the spotlight. I am. They are. We have to accept responsibility and understand that we're held to a higher standard. And so yes, there's always teachable moments there. If I didn't feel like he was in a position where he was willing to be remorseful and accept responsibility for the things that had happened, then that my decision might have been different in terms of trying to work with him and keep him here.
Just overall impressions of day one.
Okay, gotcha. 3 minutes in, we get to talk about the other 98 guys that are doing things right. Okay. No, I understand. So I thought, starting on the offensive side, it's funny because as much as they've spent time together this off season, this summer in particular, you give them 6 days off and the timing starts to kind of deteriorate. And so I think it took us a while to kind of have some consistency in some things. And Chris in particular, I think, kind of eased into practice today. But once we got into the team periods and the competitive periods, it was like he was warmed up and the juices were flowing. And that's one thing I challenged him on at the end of practice was, hey, let's not ease our way into practice. Let's come out from the get-go competing and firing. And so hopefully we can see an improvement on that. I think you can see one of the things that stood out to me immediately is we are a lot bigger and stronger on the defensive line in particular. I think that we have added a lot of size there and maintained our athleticism, and so I'm excited about that. You see the maturity that we have in the secondary, the communication that's taking place between the corners and the safeties, and I think that's a real positive. And I think that you can see that these guys are a lot more comfortable with how we do things. Even though we have 30-something new guys, all they got to do is be a sheep and follow everybody else, and we'll get to the right spot. Last year, we were having to lead. I didn't have to run around nearly as much today. I just point and say, go here, and this is the next drill, and that was a nice feeling.
Can you speak to what's going on with Jobman? I know you were looking for him to take a leap this year.
Yeah, and I think he will. I think he will.
Okay.
I don't think this is going to be a long-term thing.
Okay.
This did not require surgery or anything like that. I think it's just kind of precautionary.
Something over the summer? Or?
Yeah, it actually happened late in our PRP's practices, and so it's kind of a, keeping him in a little knee ranger, I think they call it, a little knee brace for a couple of weeks, and then let him go. So better now than later.
Did you see some of the improvement in Chris, some of the work that he did throughout the spring?
Yeah, not through the first five or six periods. I was like, what do we really do all this stuff over the summer? No. Yes. And here's the biggest thing I noticed is when he did make a bad throw, or maybe the route combination wasn't correct, because we're mixing matching some personnel early in camp, he's immediately going, okay, yeah, that wasn't the depth we needed on that route. Or, yeah, you know what? I did see single safety. I should have gone here with the ball. And it's awesome to see him turn around immediately and self-correct, because that's the first step towards mastery.
How much more comfortable are you and this coaching staff now that you're in year 2?
I think it makes a huge difference. I think just we all speak the same language, so to speak, and I think the kids are a lot more comfortable with us. Everybody that's here in this program is either 100% bought in or we brought them in, and that makes a difference too. There's not a lot of dipping the toe in the water. It's time to go to work, and they understand what the expectations are. I think I have a lot more confidence and trust in the leaders on our team, but also our coaching staff, that they know what the expectations are, and I can kind of step back and observe and not have to be quite as hands-on. But there's moments where I get bored, so I got to do something. So I have a lot more confidence as well.
Last November, when the season ended, were you expecting to replace this many underclassmen and have this many new guys here?
I kind of did. Yeah, I think if you really look at the way things are set up with APR and you kind of get an 18-month window to flip a roster if you feel like that's what needs to be done. And the reality of it is that this wasn't a promotion from within where everything was copacetic and we're just going to keep doing the same things. It was a situation where there was a mandate for change, and change is hard on everybody. It's hard on adults, but it's really hard on kids sometimes. And so I've been doing this long enough to know that when change occurs, a lot of times there's young men that go, you know what, this change isn't exactly what I came here for, and I'm going to look to do something different. And so I anticipated that this would probably be our largest class that we would bring in during my time here as the head coach.
Coach Robertson is probably one of the more popular coaches across the state. Why do you think he's so popular with high school kids?
Well, I think it's just building relationships. I think you can look them in the eye, so that helps. No, I think it's all about relationships. He's a guy that he loves Montana. A guy from Sheridan, Montana, who went to Western Montana College, and is a popular guy in the state because of how he treats people. And that's, Montana people understand that a handshake means something, manners mean something. Writing a thank you note, those are things that BJ gets really good, and he does a great job at it.
Guys that had the knee surgeries in the spring, Jacob and Johnny, did they have a chance this year? Or
No, I don't, and I don't think it would be wise.
Yeah.
I think Johnny had a partial, came back probably a little bit earlier than he should have, and in Hadley's case, we gotta let him have I'm hoping a 12-month rehab, and I think he's got a tremendously bright future here if we handle his rehab correctly.
You talked highly about the leaders on last year's team. I know you're going to announce the captain guys here, but where do you feel? How do you go about filling that void in leadership, and how much does it start with those 4 guys?
Well, those 4 guys are guys that I think they're all seniors. I think that speaks to something. This means a tremendous amount to them. It's a great group because when you look at it, you got a junior college transfer who's all about riding for the brand. You got 2 Montana kids that this means more than probably anything you could ever imagine, and you got one of the highest character young men that you could find anywhere in the United States or the world for that matter. And so I think that when our players say, what does it mean to ride for the brand? Well, you watch how Bryson McKay prepares and how Mac Bignell gives his heart to this game and this program. And what does it mean to be an empathetic leader? Well, you look at Dylan Mahoney and how it's not what you say, it's how you say it. And he can put his arm around guys and take them in and say, guy, hey, I know you're new here, but here's how we do things. And then when you talk about a lead by example guy, who are you going to find better than Mitch Herbert? And so those 4 individuals, I think really, I think they exemplify the core values of our program. And that's why we selected them as our captains for the 2017 season.
I know you really leaned on those captains last year for the buy-in aspect of things. Being that the transition is where it's at, is it different? Do these guys fill a different sort of leadership role for you guys?
Well, I think that there's not as much maybe sidebars as maybe there was a year ago in terms of, hey, this is why I'm doing this and this is, what I need from you. I think they understand those things, but they're still going to be, I'm going to lean on them for a lot of things. And, like I said, you guys got to be my eyes and ears. And if there's an issue that you feel like I need to be aware of or address, then you got to, that's part of having a captain role, is being willing to step forward and take care of that.
Was it a team vote at all, Jeff? Coaches make the selections?
It was a one-man vote.
Okay.
You've got a lot of boom tweets recently. You have a lot of 2018 kids coming in. With the way we talked about this a little bit earlier, but with the way the new recruiting rules work, if you have a kid who's verbally committed now, would you expect them to sign in that?
Yeah, I
December
think
period?
if they're truly a strong commit, that they should sign on December 21st, and then that clarifies things for us going down the stretch towards the February signing date.
What do you think is the biggest advantage is to getting so many guys kind of in the boat, so to speak, early on?
Well, I think it's just how things are now.
Yeah.
I mean, I think if you're even at the FCS level, if you're trying to sign a full class in December and January, you don't have the time to do your due diligence and really find out what these kids are all about. And I think we've taken a model and we have pushed that forward into Montana State's football program, and I think that we're recruiting at a very high level, and I think that shows with the young men that we have in our program that you're getting a chance to see run around today. And I think it also shows that hey, we're able to compete against Mountain West schools and really the best of the best in the FCS, and most of the kids that we have early commits from outside of the state of Montana are kids that had multiple FCS or FBS offers, especially Mountain West schools. And so I think that speaks to the product that we have to offer here and the job that Michael and Cole Moore and our entire staff is doing in recruiting.
What do you need to see from the quarterback group, even just behind Chris, especially on?
Yeah, somebody's got to emerge there. Okay, and so we got the old 7-iron and McChesney, and there's a lot of things that he can do really well. But between Callahan O'Reilly and Tucker Rovig in particular, I think those two guys are going to have a really tight battle. So we're going to have to put those guys in. It's one of the things I was talking to the offense about is, hey, we've got to identify the guys that we've got to get answers on, and we've got to give them opportunities early so that we've got enough film to evaluate and make a decision on which direction we're going to go.
In your mind, what's the top position battle you guys are going to have play out these next couple weeks?
I think both the guard positions are going to be ultra competitive because those are two spots where we're replacing guys. Running back is obviously going to be a spot where we're going to have a ton of competition, and I think so. That's one, and then I'll tell you, I think kind of in a weird way, corner is going to obviously be one, but in a weird way, kind of the linebackers, and not because I don't think I kind of know who the guys are, but how they end up stacking together, whether Mac plays Sam and Josh plays Will, or how it all comes together. But I think it'll be kind of more how the pieces come together than who the guys are going to be.